The BARM has impressively established a strong foundation for its progressive autonomous social development. The improved peace and order situation, good governance, not to mention high hopes and confidence amongst its people, all contribute to the reasons why BARM's poverty index has significantly decreased since 2008.
These words are the latest we've heard from the President, called directly from the narratives of peace and hope we often hear from top government officials and the political leadership of the BARM. These blends well with official pronouncements of the MILF. They conjure an image of positive change. They mesmerize us with catchphrases like, "The best is yet to come."
85% complete.
Maba po ang poverty incidence.
The transformation of the BARM
build trust and confidence in the ongoing peace process.
But is this the only reality? I'm speaking to you now amidst the continuing tragedy of Marawi and its rehabilitation and rebuilding. Some roads have been built, some public buildings have been restored, and some mosques have been re-established. Few people have returned to rebuild their homes. Makeshift shelters and refugee camps remain in use. The stories of a modernizing Cotabato and a tragic Marawi are a tale of two cities. Both are caught in a democratic yet violent transition. Both will be top of mind in the upcoming electoral battles of 2025. We last reported from Marawi in 2022, 3 years after the passage of the BOL. There was cautious hope then that despite the delays, the BARM could usher in an era of peace, development, and inclusion in the region. Yet despite the numerous pronouncements of the national and regional government of improved peace and order and good governance, data from the last 3 years warns of a new, deadlier cycle of conflict. Two years since the establishment of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region and 10 years since the 2014 peace agreement, violent conflict is on a rebound. The trend line pushed back in 2021, bent its knees in 2022, and pulled itself up again in 2023. New sources of instability are emerging. New actors are rearing their heads. This year and the next will likely see another upheaval to rival previous years. What happened? In the past 3 years, there has been a new shift, this time both geographical and political. The declining violence after the Marawi siege, the declaration of martial law, and the COVID-19 pandemic is being reversed even before violence could recede to their pre-Marawi war levels. Violence is rising fast in the province where the new BARM government sits. Maguindanao followed the 10-year conflict trend by registering the biggest number of violent incidents in the past 3 years. In fact, the risk of getting involved in violence, being displaced, or worse, being killed in Maguindanao is almost twice as likely to occur than in any other province such as Basilan or Lanao del Sur. This is true even if we measure conflict per capita and conflict per square kilometer to account for demographic differences. Maguindanao always lands on top. Maguindanao remains the epicenter of violence for 4 main reasons. 1. As the seat of the BARM government since 2019, it faces vertical assaults from both extremists and insurgents. 2. With no genuine decommissioning nor demobilization of MILF forces, the MILF itself became a major source of violence and insecurity. Clashes between MILF commanders against state law enforcers are still reported regularly. The signing of the peace agreement and the establishment of the regional government did not end violence. It thrived under it. 3. Much of the collective violence in the BARM came from internal schisms and feuding within the MILF organization itself. The inability to contain the violence from within revealed the weak, divided, and poor governance record of the BARM. 4. Land conflict has caused intensified attacks against NMIPs, mostly located in and around Maguindanao. From 2021 to 2023, clashes over land claims have become deadlier. Tensions have risen from disputes between indigenous land claims and settler protests. Non-Moro indigenous peoples have seen their distinct land rights ignored, and illegal land grabs have legitimized the forceful transfer of ancestral lands to others.
Nung after ng naggulo dito sa barangay, kuya, dahil ito sa land conflict, ang nangyayari doon, padagdag ng kahirapan para sa amin ang sitwasyon. Masakit sa kalooban namin. Yung mga ninuno namin, minahal ang lupa. Nananawagan din ako sa Bangsamoro government. Anyway, nakikita naman yun doon sa Bangsamoro Organic Law na kinikilala, kinagalang at pinoprotektahan ang mga karapatan ng mga katutubo sa kanilang lupaing ninuno. Umaasa pa rin kami na ipapagkaloob yun ng Bangsamoro government.
Violent polarization between Muslims and Christians has been the vicious side effect of the confluence between identity, resource, and political violence. Another critical issue fuels instability in the BARM. Shadow economies have kept a strong presence in the region. Major political and electoral battles over the past 3 years have fueled a rise in illicit guns and weapons. New weapons have flooded the black market as various armed groups stockpile for plebiscites and elections. The illicit gun market has caused the most conflict deaths in the Bangsamoro region, even though incidents involving illegal drugs are more common. Illicit drugs have been a constant issue over the past decade, growing undisturbed even during Duterte's term in office. However, in the last 3 years, the drug market has doubled, showing a more robust and active presence. This is a relatively new factor in the conflict in the Bangsamoro, becoming the new currency for securing economic resources and political power. The past few years have not been without gains. Incidents of extremist violence have significantly declined, especially in previous hotspots like Basilan and Sulu. From 2021 to 2023, Sulu and Tawi-Tawi saw far fewer incidents and deaths. However, this decline comes with critical changes. Now, violent extremism is concentrated in the mainland provinces of Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao Sur, and Norte. Conflict deaths have also risen, with most incidents resulting in fatalities. Few violent extremists are being arrested. Reports of extremist violence are often preceded by recruitment activities in Lanao del Sur and Lanao del Norte. This is coupled with concerns over political actors hiring out the services of VE groups as they did in previous elections in Lanao del Sur. The timing of conflict also provides insights. The data from 2021 to 2023 highlights the temporal nature of violence, increasingly linked to political battles and elections. In 2022, the number of incidents peaked in May during the national elections and again in October 2023 during the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. These factors point to a likely increase in violence in the lead-up to the 2025 elections. The mainland Bangsamoro Center, especially Maguindanao, will be hit the hardest.
Pararating na po yung election po, sana ay wala na po gulo. Kung ano yung gusto ng tao, doon na sana sila. Huwag na lang daanin sa maraas na. Kasi kami, minsan may stop na papagod ka na mag-aral. So yun talaga ang priority ko dito, education. Magawa ng paraan para may paano po matutulungan yung mga bata na hindi na sila mahirapan.
The conflict terrain before the 2025 elections will see deaths and displacement multiply among vulnerable groups, particularly the NMIPs, including their women and children. Internal armed struggles involving the MILF, MNLF, BIFF, Dawla Islamiyah, and the New People's Army will intensify. Coordinated armed attacks against state forces will likely increase, aiming to undermine the national government and the regional authority. illicit drugs will fuel the campaigns of many politicians and political parties, fund the security needs of various groups, and buy votes on election day. Immediate steps are crucial to prevent renewed violence. 1. Redundant and autonomous monitoring systems and organizations need to be supported. Their integrity and autonomy in conflict monitoring and survey research must be protected and enhanced. 2. The 2025 elections require strong and collaborative responses from the media. Tri-media outlets and watchdogs, including social media, must cooperate to prevent the spread of fake news that can prevent a peaceful election or worse, lead to a failure of elections. 3. Mediating violent and long-standing feuds and deterring revenge need to be done as early as possible before polarization occurs and hostilities erupt during the elections. 4. Humanitarian and legal aid groups need to prepare early for rescue and support. A joint humanitarian, security task force, and quick response groups must be mobilized. Finally, the OPAPRU stands out as the key government agency charged with sustaining the peace process. Yet appeasing, instead of curing violence, is only a short-term solution to a long-standing problem, even though not of its own making. As OPAPRU has acted against all odds to protect a fragile peace, it can still ring-fence Maguindanao's ground zero from violence during the 2025 elections. Making South UP, and Dato-Odin Sinsuat impervious to election-related violence is a first step. A development response to the needs of marginalized and displaced NMIPs is the next step, alongside the massive investments in camp transformation for the MILF. The fact that most of the violence is happening at the seat of the regional government speaks volumes about state fragility and weakness. Yet peace appears to be more robust the farther one gets from the center of the regional state, such as in the case of Sulu and Tawi-Tawi. Distance did not mean insubordination to central authority, nor autonomy from a countervailing power. Distance from the central and regional state instead provoked local men of prowess or the much maligned traditional political leaders to trust and depend mainly on themselves. Political infighting, a failed normalization, and delays in property rights legislation do not reflect a surfeit of capacity, only the same challenges that have impacted communities as before. The risk of an even deadlier conflict cycle is clear. Immediate actions are necessary to prevent it. Finally, peace cannot be conjured by mere declarations, nor by appeasing the sources of tension and violence. It requires determination and a strong will to execute a political settlement against those who violate it. It also demands a genuine commitment to secure and protect those most vulnerable and helpless. The journey to lasting peace is fraught with challenges, but hope remains as resilient as the people who strive for it.